What if, while lecturing, praying, and giving to millions of people, the woman you see on TV every day was secretly fighting for her own life? What if, with her strength, kindness, and unchanging grin, she was concealing something from her viewers each time she made an appearance on television? What if, on Mother's Day, Joni Lamb's own daughter was the only one to share the real story of what she was going through in her final days in a post that shocked everyone on the internet? That's exactly what happened. And today we will review everything. Stay with me because this one will hit in a different way. Before we go any further, Joni Lamb was a co-founder and president of Daystar Television Network, one of the largest Christian television networks in the world. She did not inherit this. It wasn't by accident that she fell into it. She and her husband Marcus founded Daystar from the ground up in 1993. They turned it into a global missionary engine over the course of the following 30 years, reaching over 64 million American households alone, more than TBN and almost all other Christian networks. She was on your TV. She was in your living room. Millions of people prayed with her, woke up to her voice, and trusted her with their faith. She was unbreakable. And on May 7, 2026, that pillar fell. Joni Lamb died at the age of 65. And this is what stopped everyone cold when the news came out. Her actual illness was unknown to everyone. Not her target audience. Not her fellow ministers. Not even most of her closest friends and family, it seems. Joni Lamb had been battling her health on her own. She had reportedly been suffering from severe back pain, which progressively and slowly deteriorated into a far more serious state. She reportedly had bone cancer, which she chose to conceal from everyone. The world saw a strong, vivacious, and motivated woman on television every week, but behind those cameras, her body was telling an entirely different story. She never revealed it to you either. Never, ever. Next came Mother's Day. Rachel Lamb Brown, Joni's daughter, also posted something on Instagram that stopped people from scrolling any farther. It was a video. It was a caption. It also offered the first real insight into the inner workings of Joni Lamb's final chapter. Everything Rachel wrote needed to be heard slowly, therefore I want you to listen carefully. There are no words for the depth of grief that I feel that you are no longer here, she said. Our family revolved around you, and now I'm trying to picture what life would be like without you. We prayed. We believed. We sincerely thought that this story would end differently. You fought hard. You were very strong. Even when your body faltered, your soul never did. Throughout your illness, you never lost sight of the reason God had called you. You kept showing up. You kept working on television. You kept reaching out to people. Even in the middle of your own suffering, your life continued to point people toward Jesus. You lived with eternity in mind till your last breath. And I think that's why your life had such an impact on so many people. Read that again. Slowly. Even when your body faltered, your soul never did. She kept showing up. She kept working on television. She kept contacting people. In the midst of her own suffering. That is not a tribute to someone who quietly surrendered and let their illness rule them. That is a memorial to a woman who, after witnessing her pain, said, "Not yet. Not at this moment." For some people, this is still essential. And now somehow life keeps moving around me while I'm trying to process a world without you, Rachel concluded. The other day, after I had been gone all day, Judah approached me, put his arms around my knees, and said, Mom, I missed you, I love you." And I immediately started crying. It dawned on me then that I would never be able to call out to you and say, Mom, when I needed you. The cue. Yes, it is correct. The sentence broke people. Because it has nothing to do with legacy, fame, or ministry. It has to do with the embrace of a child. It is about the point at which something that seems insignificant, like your own child placing their arms around your legs, suddenly assumes the full weight of everything you have lost. Rachel was not grieving a public figure at the time. She was in grief over her mother. And deep inside, everyone who has ever lost a parent has felt that. There is something about Rachel's message that goes beyond melancholy. If you read it carefully, you'll discover something important about Joni Lamb's actual character in those final months. Rachel claims that till the very last, her mother had eternity in her heart. She asserted that Joni never lost sight of the objective in spite of her illness. She asserted that Joni persisted in showing up, performing on television, and interacting with others in spite of her personal suffering. It's not a coincidence. That's a choice. A deliberate, daily, costly choice made by a woman who understood that her job was more significant than her comfort, possibly even more significant than her own existence. Think about what that means practically. It is now believed that Joni Lamb was suffering from bone cancer. She was in pain. She was weak. She kept walking onto TV screens, looking directly into cameras, and ministering to people who didn't realize how much it cost her to be there. She didn't ask for sympathy. She didn't write the story of her suffering. She protected the mission by making it the only thing that was visible to everyone. Why didn't she tell anyone? We can't be positive. Maybe she didn't want sympathy. Maybe she wanted to protect her children from seeing the world grieve her while she was still alive. It's possible that she genuinely believed she would live, that the same God she had discussed for 40 years would step in and alter the course of events, as she had repeatedly seen him do. Or maybe, as Rachel's comments most strongly suggest, she just refused to let her suffering take center stage when the mission was supposed to be the major narrative. She lived with the future in mind. She died with her face to the front. And she didn't want anything, not even her own demise, to prevent her from pointing in that direction. Confidentiality isn't that. That isn't denial. That woman's purpose was so clear to her that she let it define her until the very end. But now is the time to be honest about the entire circumstance. Because a darker story that ran concurrently with Joni's final days coexists with Rachel's beautiful, heartbreaking Mother's Day article and is intrinsically tied to the entire reality of what this family has been going through. When news of Joni's passing spread around the Christian community, another story was already in progress. A family member was publicly accused by Joni's son Jonathan Lamb and his wife Susie of sexually abusing their 5-year-old daughter. The accused was never officially named in the court charges, despite reports linking the claim to Joshua Brown, Rachel's husband, who fiercely disputed everything. Joni was accused of hiding the attack. She angrily and repeatedly denied this charge, calling it a fabricated smear campaign meant to undermine her authority as Daystar's leader. All of this had a very detrimental effect. Jonathan was eventually fired from Daystar in November 2024. The relationship between Joni and her son became obviously, publicly, and permanently fractured. The fact that Jonathan and Susie had not been informed that Joni was reaching the end of her life stunned everyone who had been following the story. They did not receive an invitation. Since they were down the road, they might have been there, but nobody picked up the phone. Eventually, Jonathan, who was not related, received a call from Daystar's attorney Tom Callender informing him that his mother had already died. Rachel's Mother's Day post and that specific information happened in the same week. The same family. The same loss. However, it was perceived in two quite different ways. Rachel described a mother whose soul never faltered and who lived with eternity in mind until her last breath. And as Jonathan was sitting down the street, a lawyer told him that he had already missed his chance to be in the room. Both of these claims are true at the same time. They both belong to the same story. The challenge of keeping both of them together is what makes this one of the most profoundly human stories to come out of Christian media in a very long time. For those who want to know more about Rachel, she is Joni and Marcus Lamb's older daughter. She has been a host and marketing representative for Daystar for many years. The couple's 2 children are Judah and Noah. Joshua Brown is her spouse. Despite everything her family has experienced, including the death, the public debate, the scrutiny, and the fractures that may never fully heal, Rachel decided to speak. She decided to come out on Mother's Day and openly and compassionately tell her mother's tale. She admitted that the story is not over, despite the terrible nature of her mother's passing. That sounds just like what Joni Lamb would have said. In this sense, Rachel is already passing on some of her mother. This is our final destination. The television empire started by a woman had an impact on hundreds of millions of people globally. Who decided to forgive her spouse after he had deceived her for 7 years. Who endured the most excruciating family division in her final years of life. Who fought a sickness that she never once disclosed to her audience. Who appeared on television week after week despite her body failing her silently. Who lived with eternity in mind until the very last breath. And whose daughter stood up on Mother's Day to make sure that everyone understood who she really was when the cameras were off. Joni Lamb's tale is a complex one. The history of her family is complicated. It will take years to fully understand and evaluate her legacy. All readers of Rachel's message, however, were reminded of something that cuts through all the complexity and exposes the fundamental truth. Every well-known person has a private supporter. There is a guy hauling unseen objects behind every station. And sometimes, though not always, the best thing a person can do is to keep going when no one knows they're struggling. Keep showing up. Keep pointing forward. Keep living as though the mission is more significant than the pain. Joni Lamb did just that until she was totally worn out. Regardless of how you feel about the decisions she made, that part of her experience is accurate, and there are legitimate questions that demand honest answers. It also merits a clear view. Please share your thoughts with me by posting a comment below. Was Joni's decision to conceal her health battle a statement of strength? Was it anything entirely different? Or was it simply a woman who was so committed to her mission that nothing, not even her own demise, could take precedence over it? I want to know what you think. We will keep telling you the entire story as it progresses, covering all of its facets, so please like this video, subscribe, and stay tuned. We'll see you at the next one.